Some time ago, a missionary traveled the open ocean, searching for the rolling sands of new shores upon which to set foot. Islands and villages God had placed in his heart, and a compassion for the people of the Pacific. He expected to share and teach about the salvation of all humanity. One thing he did not expect was how often the people he'd encounter would be teaching him rather than the other way around. One sunny Christmas day, off the coast of Maupiti, the sand glistened and the crystal clear water lapping and nudging at the island's edge was as beautifully serene as ever. The missionary, who by now had transitioned from strange visitor to welcomed guest to beloved family member, had gathered some of the village folk. He told them the story of how the wise men brought gold, frankincense and myrrh to the Christ child. How back home where he had come from, to celebrate Christmas, they also exchanged gifts. While most of the children in particular fell in love with this concept, one boy's attention seemed to drift away, his gaze shifting and eventually fixing on a distant shoreline. Strange, thought the missionary. This boy usually listened intently, hanging off of every word he said. He himself had grown rather fond of the lad. In fact, they'd become friends. Daydreaming he was, or so the missionary thought. Had he looked just a little closer at the boy's eyes, in their wild hazel depths he would have seen forming the tiny twinkle of an idea. At the end of the lesson, while most of the villagers went back to their huts, the young boy set off in the opposite direction. To trek to where he was determined to go meant he would first have to reach the other side of the island, 2.5 hours through treacherous jungle and over volcanic rock. Then, after scaling down to the foot of a dangerous cliff face, only if the tide was right could he continue his journey. Over sharp coral reef on the edge of the atoll, oyster shells and the like would slice his feet. Ocean waves crashing against him, throwing him over the side. To climb back up every time cut shreds into his hands and knees. This was the most dangerous leg of the journey. The wind picked up, tossing him about, for the boy was now exposed to the wild nature of the Pacific. On he walked, fell, scrambled, crawled, swam, climbed until finally, many hours after leaving the missionary's lesson on the giving of gifts, he arrived at his destination. The sun now setting before him, he reached down and picked up the item he had come all this way for. A rare and exquisite seashell, glittering with a deep beauty as it shone in the disappearing rays of the last light. Smiling, he set back the way he had come, facing again every element he had faced before, except now in reverse, and this time under the cover of complete darkness. The next morning, this young boy presented the missionary with the beautiful seashell, and with strips of bandage on his feet and hands and a huge grin upon his face, he said, "Gift for you." The missionary had never seen such a shell. "Thank you very much," he said, a genuine expression of his appreciation. It was beautiful. And yet, even so, to the missionary, it was still just a seashell. Later that day, he showed it to some people on the island. Gasping, they asked where he had got it from. "It was a gift," the missionary explained. "Do you understand how rare this seashell is, what one must endure to get it? There is only one spot where such an extraordinary gift can be found. It's a long and dangerous trek to the other side of the island and out to a separate shore, through dense jungle, volcanic rock, down cliffs and over sharp coral. They would have cut their feet, been battered and hurt. Whoever it was that gave you this must surely admire you. For the truth is, nobody can get this shell without a long walk, miles and miles and miles. Soon after, the missionary found the boy again. This time, now with more understanding, he said, "I want to really thank you for this precious gift, but truly, you should not have walked all that way, just for me." Smiling and shaking his head, the boy said something to this effect: "Mister, you don't understand. That is its real value. For we have a saying on this island: the long walk is part of the gift."